Yo, everyday superpower where we learn about body language, male and female relationships, attraction, game, everything in between, okay? Today I'm talking about the contrast between what man and woman find attractive in each other. This is the biggest issue, I would say, when it comes to men being naive about attracting women, not understanding and getting lost in the complexities of the dating marketplace. I really do believe this is the biggest issue, and this comes from looking at the world and not seeing past your own perspectives, not seeing past your own wants and needs, not really taking it into serious consideration that us and women, our perspective, our needs and necessities from the opposite sex are completely different. Completely different. So we're going to break it up into two: there's survival and there's replication. Mystery would call this the S and R values, right? Now, I'm not going to phrase this guy to a T because it cross collides with a whole wealth of different, ideas and concepts I've sort of conjured in my own. But we are going to be using that, theory per se. And I think it goes beyond the theory. I think it's biological truth. I really do agree with it wholeheartedly. I think it just runs below everything we do as man and women. So, with that being said, if you want to be attractive to women, a great big blanket over our actions, our decisions, our communications, and whatnot. There's a need for survival. How does this person showcase a quality of life for me, myself, themselves, our children? What longevity do I see in this? Are they healthy? Are they wealthy? Can they provide? Are they strong, and can they work under pressure? These are the things that all biologically are hardwired within a woman to perceive in a man. Needs and necessities to some baseline, right? You don't have to fulfill all boxes. You don't need to tick all boxes 100% of the time. That's not the case. There's always this constant balance. Whereas the second is replication. So does this man have good genes? Does this man have youth on his side, time on his side? Is this man going to be a good father? And so on and so forth. But arguably the good father question will probably come into the survivability as opposed to the replication. But does this man look good? Is this man going to be able to give the genes to our children that will allow our children to procreate further? And to keep the bloodline running, to keep our gene pool full and without disability and with only benefit to our child, really fully and foremost. So then you could apply that and say, well, perhaps we are now applying this to the alpha and the beta male, because I don't believe a beta male necessarily is a negative thing, but that beta male would be number A, letter A even, and that would be the father figure, the survivalist, the man who can show good survival. He can get a good job, he can provide well. He would be what in the red pill space would be considered a beta, which, each to their own. Whereas B would be the alpha, good genes, Chad. Yeah? Plain and simple. So we as men look at women and we pay more attention to them alpha qualities, i.e. the good genetic traits. Is this woman fertile? Is she good looking? Does she get me going sexually, right? We think downstairs. It's our drive as a man to direct ourselves with this charged sexualized energy, because that's the be all and the end all. So we look at women for option Two, replication. Because as far as survival mechanism is concerned, we're not necessarily going to look at a woman to protect us. Generally speaking, we're not looking at a woman to provide for us, although there are levels to that, because through Freudian psychology we could perceive that woman as the mother and to fulfill the quota as to which the mother left empty when we started to find independence. Me personally, I really do want a woman to be a good cook, and as much as I can look after myself, I do like being cared after, so there is some degree, a little bit of crossover, right? Both the survival and both the replication spaces, they both come in together, but we emphasize the genetic makeup, we emphasize the procreative elements of that woman more so than the survival mechanism, because when that woman becomes so heavily absorbed within the survival space as opposed to the replication space, she starts to become quite masculine in nature, you see? And that was a dispute Kevin Samuels had. I believe the black community, or at least the African American community of America, influenced by pop culture and so forth, which could be quite completely intentional, let me say as a side note, for that woman to find confidence or perceived confidence in independence and fighting back and just sort of possessing these masculine traits. And with that being saying, I won't judge on a particular community or culture purely because over here in England, right, you come across so many women in corporate who just are happy, and I say this with a little bit of poison in my tongue, because I don't like it whatsoever personally. You see these women who have children and now have to give these children to childminders and child care and whatnot because they're too busy working for a man, establishing profits for a corporate entity that has no care for them, that considers them replaceable, whereas the man at home who doesn't perceive them in such manner and who isn't receiving the fruits of that woman's labor, and the child who isn't receiving the fruits of that woman's labor, they're too busy feeling that they are career driven and that's the right way to do it, and each to their own. But I think there's levels to this stuff. Whereas when the man focuses and highlights his replication value too much as opposed to his survival, which this is going to be reoccurring, right? Because this is the confusion men have by only being able to see past their own nose and not being able to observe the differences. They project what they see in women, i.e. good-looking women. They think they have to match that through their own looks. So you get these effeminate men, these men who are just so focused, and I guess it errs a little bit into the black pill community where they're so fixated on the looks and the genetic traits of the man, they fail to see what other elements of a man's entity is really valuable to the woman, if not more valuable to the woman, you know? And they get fixated on their height. They think that the tall man's always this, that, and the third. They think that the guy with the sharp jawline, they think that the man who's got a full head of hair, who's got abs, six packs and all this are by default going to be incredibly attractive to the woman. Probably more so than the man who doesn't, but on a deeper glance, not nearly as much as that man who's actually got some degree of character, who has got depth and knowledge of his self that manifests itself in success in the external world. There's no competition. But some men think that they have to spend an entire lifetime in the gym without focusing on other things, and that's what's going to work. You see this time and time again. It does not work like that. I know people like this. You can't get through to them. It's not going to work like that. It's not going to work like that. So look at it from the flip side, right? That woman is going to want the survival in the man as opposed to the replication, generally speaking. Let's call it 70-30, all right? 30% invested in that man's genetic makeup and sort of the red pill, just build yourself sort of style of things, physically speaking, whereas the man's going to apply 70-30 more so to the replication, to the fertility, to the, like I said, it gets his motor running. How can you procreate with something as to which you don't find attractive? So there we go. That's a little discussion on that. We can talk about this for some time, but I'm not going to delve too deeply on it. I'm going to allow you to click like and subscribe, as I am going to be putting videos out every day from here on. And with that being said, 2 links are down in the description. One of them will take you through to my YouTube playlist, the catalogue of body language. That's where you're going to learn how to read people through their subconscious behaviours in real time. You'll read their minds. They don't teach you that nowhere else. Second, we're going to go deeper into the body language game. It's the Patreon, and I'm going to show you 2 people on real life dates. Yeah? We'll be able to assess them. I'll show you the attraction cues, the repulsion cues, and we'll break it down, and you'll see that in your real life. I'm signing out. Peace.